Hello and welcome to A Journey of Clarity, a personal exploration of getting in tune with yourself and in tune with others with your host, Dr. Natanael Costea. This is a journey of emotional and spiritual awareness, of discovering what life truly means, and a clear shift from an ego-driven world to a meaning-driven world. I believe we can become more in tune with our thoughts, our emotions, and our spirituality. And as we do that, we will make better decisions, have deeper connections, more fulfillment, and even more joy. This is A Bit of Clarity.
Hi and welcome to my first videocast. This is Dr. Natanael Costea from Australia. It is such a joy to be together with you. I began this journey of emotional intelligence, most likely unconsciously, back in high school. I had a wonderful teacher. His name was Terry Weimer. He was a university professor who came back to high school to teach mathematics. And why did he do that? He realized that most students that came to university had two major issues with maths. First of all, they weren't that good at it, and he had to spend the first year of university teaching them and bringing them up to scratch so they are able to learn maths. And the second problem was most people didn't like mathematics. So he thought, there's one thing that I can do. I can go back to high school and teach young people to love maths and actually be good at it. So when they go to university, they are able to engage in the studies and advance further. So that's what he did. He came to Camberwell High School in Melbourne, Victoria, and I had the privilege to be one of the students in his class. And that's what he did. He was very good at mathematics, and he taught us how to love mathematics. He took us inside the nitty-gritty of maths. He took us step by step. He also explained to us how important it is to have these skills in engineering, in accounting, in finances, in economics, in anything you want to study in the future, and how mathematics can be something that we love. He was very passionate, and passionate, if somebody is passionate, it rubs on. So what we did is, because he was so passionate about maths and he was so good at it, and we engaged with what he was doing, and we were learning maths, and we became very good at maths. He would teach us one concept, he would explain where this concept is applicable, and then he would let us practice and learn at our own pace to be able to do just that. And then he would move on to the next theory or concept. And bit by bit, we learned to be good at mathematics and to love it. Now, something happened a few years later. Actually my first studies were in physics and computing. So mathematics became such a big part of my life that I went on and studied in this field. And I even worked for the first 7 years of my career at the Australian Bureau of Statistics, programming in mathematics. You wouldn't think that now, but that's what I did. Hey, a few years later, something amazing happens. This beautiful professor of ours, Terry Weimer, was on Australia's highest IQ. So they had an IQ show in Australian television, and they had students and they had teachers, and they were competing against each other to see who has the highest IQ. Naturally, the teachers won the competition as a group, but also the person that stood out the most was my maths professor, Terry Weimer. He had the highest IQ of that teaching cohort that was there on television. And I just realized something there and then, that this man, even though he had this amazing IQ that everyone in the nation was able to see on display on television, he valued more emotional intelligence than he valued his IQ. Why am I saying this? Because he created an environment where his students were able to engage in learning maths and be good at it and loving it. He valued more these, they call soft skills, but they're not. They're actually hard skills that somebody should learn. He valued more emotional intelligence, EQ, over IQ, even though he had a high degree of IQ. What am I talking about when I'm talking about emotional intelligence? When I'm talking about emotional intelligence is, I'm talking about the ability to get in tune with yourself, to actually get to know your thoughts, to get to know your emotions, to get to know what these are telling you. And also then once you have this awareness of what triggers your emotions, what triggers the thought patterns that you have, the ability to manage these, both on a personal level and also in relationships, on the in social interactions. So in this podcast, in this video cast, we are learning about emotional intelligence. And in this very first introduction video cast, I want to take you in this world of emotional intelligence. And I want to show you a little bit the difference between IQ and EQ by the example that I shared with you about Terry Weimer, by mathematics professor. And also by the way we can embrace emotional intelligence as a powerful skill that we can learn in our lives. Now, when it comes to IQ, the sad thing is that you can't really grow your IQ very much. You can develop it on a very, very small scale. And IQ has to do with your ability to learn, how rational you are, how quickly you memorize, how well you memorize things. But your IQ doesn't change. If you're born with a high IQ, you will have that IQ for the rest of your life. Your IQ doesn't change much from the age of 5 or to the age of 50. That is pretty much static, and you can't do much to improve your IQ. That is just a gift that you are born with. On the other hand, when we talk about emotional intelligence, this is a skill or a set of skills that you can develop, that you can grow, that you can nurture in your life, and you can develop your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence has to do with your ability to know your emotions, to label them, to name them, to understand what's going on in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit, to be aware, to have this self-awareness of what goes on in everyday life, and also your ability to manage these emotions, to manage your thought patterns, to manage the meaning that you give to your thoughts. So you have a control, you have a self-control and a balance in your life. And in effect, when you do this, when you're more in tune with yourself, there's a high probability of getting in tune more with other people as well. You get to understand other people, to have empathy for other people, to listen differently to other people, to listen to understand them, to understand where they're coming from, what they're actually saying, what they are saying behind the words, to get in tune with their emotions, with their situation, and to get really close to people. This makes you a beautiful social person, a person who in relationships engages really well. We need people with high emotional intelligence. We need emotional intelligence skills. And this is the beauty, because in this video cast, you will learn how to develop your emotional intelligence. There will be different parts to this teaching. So my goal for 2021, as we grow into this podcast and video cast, my goal is to take you through 4 major steps of emotional intelligence. And the first ones and the first group of sessions will have to do with self-awareness, to actually get to know what is going on in your life, to be awake, to be present, to understand what's going on. Why are you thinking this? Why is this happening? Why are your emotions going that way or that way? What is triggering your emotions? To have this awareness of what's going on with your emotions and with your thought patterns. So that is the first group of lessons that we're going to have about self-awareness. Then I'll take you to the next step. Once you are aware and know what's going on in your mind and in your heart and in your emotions, even spiritually, then we can move to the next step, which has to do with self-management. How do you manage your emotions? How do you manage your thoughts? How do you manage your mindset? How do you manage your spiritual part of your being? Very, very important component of your life. So that is the second aspect, self-management. And once you are in tune with yourself, so when you get in tune with yourself, we're talking about the self-awareness and self-management. These have to do with you. But then we take you now into a relationship context, into a social context, where we teach you how to have soft skills with everybody around you, to get in tune with other people around you. So the next step would be to have social awareness, to actually read what's going on with other people, the people that you interact with. What do they say? What do they mean? What's going on? What are they trying to communicate? And then also, how do you manage these relationships? So the third component is social awareness, and then the fourth component is relationship management. How do you manage conflict? How do you manage feedback? How do you manage relations? These are relationships. These are very, very important aspects of life because we are relational beings. We are all the time with other people, whether we are in business, we're in family, in a social context, we're always with other people. And to be able to interact very well with other people, to communicate well, to have empathy for other people, these skills are invaluable. So this is the journey that I am about to take you on. So I want you to be part of this wonderful journey. I want you to join me for the video casts that will come out every week. And I want you to subscribe on iTunes and Google Play. And just make sure that every week as we launch these, you will listen to them or watch them through various channels or YouTube and other channels. And also download the notes, the sheet, the podcast sheet, which is available with every video cast that we will show you. Just a little bit about myself. I live in Australia, in Perth, in Western Australia. This is the most isolated city in the world. We are on the west coast of Australia. Pretty much Western Australia is almost half of Australia. It is a big state, and Perth is a smallish city, but it is a very isolated city. In fact, you have to fly to get to the next city. It is that far away, and it's about 2.5 hours to Adelaide. So that is a long flight. If you were to drive, you need 2.5 days, almost 3 days to get you there. So just know a little bit. We are on the beach. You know, we have a beautiful west coast. We have ocean. We are coming into summer, January, as you are listening to me right now. It's the hottest month of the year for us. And if you are in the northern hemisphere, you're probably very cold at the moment, and it's winter for you. We are upside down. Australia is called down under because we are walking the other way around. It's just a wonderful, wonderful country to live in. I am married to Raluca. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's a beautiful part of my life. And we have 3 young children, Evangeline, Isaac, and Menora. And the 4th one is on the way, and you will hear more about that in June this year. Great things are happening in Australia. We look forward to 2021. And I know we've had a challenging year in 2020, especially with COVID. But we are so hopeful and optimistic about 2021 because there are great things on the horizon. And I believe that we can help those people out there, like yourself, to increase your emotional intelligence, to be more in tune with yourself, to be more in tune with others. And bit by bit, we can grow into more mature, professional human beings, if you want. People who can handle themselves pretty well and handle the challenges that come their way personally, but also in a relationship level. So welcome along this journey with me. I hope to see you in the next episode. And for now, I'm just going to say bye, and I welcome you. I welcome your questions. I welcome your comments. I welcome your 5-star rating, hopefully, on Apple iTunes. This helps me get the message out there. So if you find this valuable, please share it with other people and let them know that this podcast is coming out every week. Take care.
I'm Dr. Natanael Costea, and I thank you so much for joining me on this journey of clarity through emotional and spiritual awareness. If you feel blessed by this presentation, please subscribe, rate, comment, and share it wherever you're enjoying it. And until next time, this was a bit of clarity.